Alright, so I figured out a pretty good workflow for using Blender to make loops for stages. I'll show you a little loop that I've done here. I'll just tell QuickTime to play it in a loop. So I've just got, basically, I've got a displacement map, and I've got that applied to an object in Blender, and then I've got a light moving around in Blender over some animation, and then I'm baking that to this texture, and then that's getting turned into a video. So I'm just going to go through how I did that. So the source of the displacement map, I used Stairway Diffusion to generate some height maps. So they've sort of another topic for another day, but you can just sort of prompt it with like height map and grayscale, some other details like that. One sec, I'll find it. Okay. Oh. Okay. I'm still learning this thing. So I've got Comfy UI running over here. Really handy thing about Comfy UI is that you can just take any image that you generated in it and just copy it into the window, and it will show you the workflow that you used to generate that. But this is the prompt that I gave it. So you can see I've got grayscale, I've got height map, displacement map, normal map, some white stuff, some acid trip, infinite triangular fractal, cult of Cthulhu. I don't know, there's just some other prompts that people made, and I just played with it a bit, and I gave it the depth map of the stage as an input. One thing I did mess up is I didn't give this the right size relative to this, so I've had to do some editing afterwards to make it fit the right size. So you can see between these, this one's like slightly wider. I've had to sort of mess it up a little bit in the corner here. But anyway, you end up with this image, and then in Blender, you can take your image in the shader graph, and you can apply it as a displacement map. So you can see up here, I've set my view here to be using the full render view, and I've got my displacement map here. So that's cool, you know, you can see that if I zoom in here, you can sort of see that I've got all these, it's actually displacing all these elements. And it's important that your surface here actually has enough polygons for you to be able to see it. I can't show you it here. If I go to, here you go, the modifiers. I've got my subdivision modifier here, where I've got it down to like 8 subdivisions. So it's even one more level of subdivisions when you do it. But if I disable this, you'll see it. Right, this one. Yeah, there we go. You can see that's what it looks like flat. It's only doing in this way, it's only doing it, keeping a flat geometry, but it's just sort of doing it, making the normal sort of color change. But when I turn it on, it actually displaces it properly in space, which means it catches the shadows in a really cool way. And I'm excited to use this to do, you could do generative stuff in here as well. You can make like sharp edges and stuff and cause that to have shadows in the geometry. Another requirement of it is that for the, where is it? Not this guy. It's in like the lighting or something like that. Oh no, it's in the material properties, I think. Yeah, down here in the settings. The settings of the material. You want the surface, the displacement to be displacement and bump. Bump only just makes it use the flat surface and doesn't actually change the 3D geometry. What we want to do is to actually change the 3D geometry so that we get shadows hitting each other, doing trippy, detailed things. You get sort of a little bit of a pixelation with it, and it obviously takes longer because it's got to generate way more points, and my RAM gets used up all the way up to at least 8 gigabytes, maybe sometimes like 12. If you go to another step as well with the subdivision modifier, then you can end up getting it ended up getting to like 30 gigabytes, and I had to cancel it because it was just freezing, and then my computer crashed. So you have to be kind of careful there. But yeah, so I'm using this image here, and I'm using that in here. This was old. We don't need this anymore. Just there. And I'm mirroring it because this is only half of the thing. I am multiplying by 2, I think, because this is only the actual whole thing is like has the if I go back up to the actual root of this is the full template here. So over here I've just got one corner of the template, so I'm doing a little bit of maths here just to make this little corner of it, this little square of it, properly map onto this guy. Yeah, so I've got that, and then what you can do is, because this isn't actually in the right, we want it to be in this form, right? We want it to be in the form that is going to map onto the stage eventually. So over in where is it? Oh yeah, so I can give you an example. We've got this bake functionality, so that lets us take what we see in this kind of view in a normal camera and put that back into the UV mapping. So that's sort of a key part of how I've done this. I've done the stage. I've designed the stage with I've added the UV maps onto the stage geometry, so that now we can like reverse it around and take the 3D world and put it back into the 2D world. So if I come over here, we can bake a single frame of it. Oh, circular dependency. Oh, I've got to select this guy, I think. That's the one. And this might take a sec. I think it's been taking about like 40 seconds a frame what I've been doing here. So I've just been doing like 2-second loops with so that's 2 seconds loops, which is 4 beats at 120 BPM. Okay, here we go. I think it should have done that now. So if I come to that one that what did I select there? I thought I selected untitled. Should be over here. Is it another one of these? Is this the one? Maybe. You get the idea though. So you can press that bake button, and it should bake whatever you've got selected here onto whatever object you have selected over here. Should have really done this guy, but didn't seem to quite do it like that. It's still a little bit of a mystery, some of this stuff for me. Let's just click it again. Maybe error. Yeah, it's a little bit finicky getting it to perfectly work. But once you get it running, it's pretty good. And I think the ability to have having the power of Blender is pretty awesome. To sort of fit that into this workflow. And we'll be able to do all kinds of trippy shadow effects just having pixel-based displacement maps, and then baking that into textures. Did that give an error? Oh no, here we go. Yep. So that's the render like there. So you can see there's all these guys. There's a couple options you have here as well. So this is just a shader graph over here. You can change like the height of like the amount that the stuff's displayed. So you can go like 0.5 and let it like stick all the way out, and then you get like real harsh shadows. But it's a little bit too intense on you. But it might be nice if you've got larger shapes. It could be nicer. But I'm just going for this subtle like 0.1. I've also got this exponent over here, which is sort of changing the shape of it a little bit. Like if I change it up to 2, it's going to be a little bit flatter and just going to get these little notchy bits coming out. Just might be an interesting look that you want to go for. and it's just going to this material output node into the displacement. And this is just the normal. This is sort of the default stuff that you get. Yeah, so you can see how we can generate one. But what I've got here is I've got a script here that's included in this Blender file. You don't really need to think about how it works. You just need to click play over here, and it will load it up. And then you'll end up in your, if you select some object that has the right, that is a normal object, has a mesh or a curve, I think it's this stuff, you end up with this bake animation thing here. And so you can select frames that you want to sequentially press the bake button for and automatically put them into a folder. So I'll show you the animation tab where I've got that in there. So in my, I've got this light here, and this light, I've given it a bunch of keyframes over these 120 frames. So you can see that moving around, see that jumping about. And I've got it sort of looping in here, and I've sort of set the curve of these guys a little bit so that they've got like circular curves, I think, or something like that, to give them a bit more of a kind of look. So yeah, you can see there's 1 to 120 frames there. So I'm matching that over here. And if I click stage and then click here, bake animation. So then you just click that button and the progress would update. Again, it's just a shitty little script, so might crash, I don't know. It seems to be working at the moment for me. I'm not going to press it right now though, but I'll show you the output. It's going to freeze my computer if I try to. You have to sort of like just let it run and do its thing. But you can, here's the output. You know, I'm just clicking through the frames. Got all the frames there. Just going a bit funky. And then once you've generated all those frames, it'll just sort of go through all those, generate them all. Then you can run this ffmpeg script to take set a frame rate. So that's, I've set that somewhere in here. Can't quite remember where that's set. You can Google it. Pattern type glob. So that's gonna take any files that have this as the input. Something about the codec and the pixel format, and then put it out to this file. So I've run that already. I'll just delete it though. We can run it again because this one runs real fast. It's just like 120 pictures, so it's actually pretty easy for it to do that. And then we end up with this guy. Then we end up with our nice little animation. And I think it's a pretty cool workflow. You'll be able to do a lot out of this. Do all kinds of stuff in Blender. You don't have to do this fancy shadow stuff, so it's pretty hard to render it. There's plenty of options to do. Yeah, I hope this is useful. I'm probably going to go and fix this sizing thing that I messed up with my Stable Diffusion stuff, and then generate some more interesting shapes, maybe some bricks, maybe some pyramid, maybe something organic, something like rocky, blobby. Yeah, try have a go at some other shapes, see if I can get something cool working. Yeah, enjoy.